Back in 2022, I made this video ranking all the worlds in Donkey Kong 64. Each one offers a unique design and character, with some flaws here and there, so let's spend some time with each one individually. So here we are, nearing the end of the game. That calls for just one more world to explore. But it's not your typical world full of 500 color bananas, 25 golden bananas, coins, fairies, boss fights, and so on. No, this world is much more straightforward. We're busting in, kicking butt, and taking names. Watch out, Hideout Helm. The Kongs have arrived. I put this world right in the middle of my tier list for just barely being a world to explore. It's not nearly as beefy as the other 7 worlds, but I think that's rightfully so. At this point in the game, we've done it all. We've collected everything, and beaten down any Kremlin standing in our way. I can't say I'd want another gigantic world for the end. Besides, I think having a countdown clock adds to the stress factor. Time to make some moves. Seeing that clock tick away each second gives me so much anxiety whenever I fail one of those challenge barrels. Failure is not an option. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let's back up to the beginning. I don't talk about the lobbies nearly enough, but I think they only get better and more notable over time. Also, it's sort of tied more to DK Isle, but anyways, the lobby in Hideout Helm, while simple, is very fitting to the world. I mean, it's that classic bad guy design. A generic Bowser's Castle setup with pools of lava. There isn't a ton of lava in this game to begin with, so I'd say it's fairly expected for K. Rool. I love this introduction into Hideout Helm. Snide's ability to stall the Blastomatic is such genuine help, and I love the fact that the countdown is affected by how many blueprints the player has collected at that time. The default timer is set to 10 minutes, with the max time being 50 minutes. I don't think I've ever attempted this world without already collecting all of the blueprints, but 10 minutes sounds crazy. I need a little cushion time for all those little imperfections I most definitely will make. But I'm starting to realize that this could be detrimental to speedrunners if they aren't careful. The fact that any world can be entered regardless of the number of golden bananas collected, and boss fights can be entered regardless of how many colored bananas have been collected, speedrunners will really bop around from world to world in just a few minutes. This puts the Hideout Helm timer at 10 minutes. But then again, those are speedrunners we're talking about. 10 minutes could be more than enough time for them. So as we sneak through the halls of enemy territory in search of the Blastomatic, a handful of obstacles block the path, requiring a shift in different Kongs. And while I love the concept of all the Kongs participating and working together, this is a clear example of needing a simple Kong rotation through the D-pad. Yeah, but it's no deal breaker to me. The tag barrel sits right there, available for immediate access. But the Blastomatic isn't far. Time to get to work. Pulling the lever with DK and flying through the DK stars with Diddy can be quite stressful on its own. 60 seconds on the clock might not seem too bad, but just running to the tag barrel, switching to Diddy, and jumping into the jetpack barrel will shave off 10 to 15 seconds on the clock. Then, of course, controlling the jetpack can be overwhelming. You can actually feel both clocks on screen ticking. Hopefully, most players have mastered the jetpack at this time, but that still doesn't make it all that easy. I'm just hoping to pass this in one go, no screw-ups. So passing through all the stars unlocks the doors to deactivate the Blastomatic. Now, each Kong must do their part and complete 2 barrel challenges to deactivate one of the 5 sections of the machine. I've come to actually enjoy most of these barrel challenges. I just wish there was another way to appreciate them without the stress of a doomsday countdown. I wish we could access them again when visiting Snide. Oh well. The first barrel for DK is kinda stressful in my opinion. Jump in the barrel and blast him at the targets. And it's nothing new at this point. We've done this exact challenge in every single world. But man, that barrel rotates really fast. Timing out the blast is crucial. Not only that, but DK has to walk back to the center after every blast, regardless if you hit or miss the target. That really eats up time. Thankfully, this is one of the few challenges that has required a redo out of me. The other DK challenge is pretty fun and straightforward. Finally, we're seeing Rambi again. It's been ages. Just take out all the baddies. It's not all that hard. It's a fun one, and it's great to have one more moment with Rambi. Chunky's first challenge is so quick, but unless you know exactly what to do and where to go, this could potentially cause frustration and lose time. It's simple. Go hunky chunky, break down the large boxes in search of the one Kremlin. In under 20 seconds! I mean, shoot, I don't remember exactly which box this sucker is hiding in. Just get lucky and beat your head against the wall until something works. The next chunky challenge is a blast. He stands in the center on top of a box with his pineapple gun ready to go. Aim for the 5 Kremlins in the room and take them out before 30 seconds run out. I say go for the pray and spray method. The sniper scope is such a bummer because it creates lag, so you really can't properly aim at the enemies. You'd be better off aiming towards where they're about to be and tap away at the button. At least this challenge is still completely doable. Tiny's first challenge is one of the trickiest. Fly through the DK stars and pound the switch near the end. Oh, but you can't touch the floor. A classic the floor is lava challenge for kids. 30 seconds on the clock isn't the main stress factor, but that final DK star is shifted away from the platform boxes. Shifted just enough that you'll have to plan out those jumps and hair twirls just right. The second challenge for Tiny is pretty similar, but without the imaginary floor is lava. Jump through the DK stars, but they're located way up top. Just use the mushrooms to bounce up to the stars, another design we've seen multiple times in the game. Lanky's first challenge can be awfully tricky too. Alright, I'm starting to see a pattern here. One challenge is tough, the other a little more easygoing. Now, but we've essentially already played this as a bonus barrel stage. Press the blue switch and find the end of the maze before time runs out. And while it's not necessarily hard, running out of time and needing to redo this challenge because you don't know where to go is the main stress factor. Plus, using 3 to 5 seconds just to get the arranged sprint ability really has me at the edge of my seat. But it's mostly trial and error. Even if players don't get it right the first time, the second attempt is a sure thing. The second Lanky challenge is essentially a repeat of one of Chunky's challenges. Shoot down all the baddies in the room before time runs out. I'd argue this one is more challenging since the zingers are up in the air with less predictability. Another struggle with the sniper scope lag, but nothing impossible. And finally, it's time for Diddy Kong. His first challenge is arguably one of the toughest out of the Kongs. It's one that gets me the most frustrated. Take his jetpack, fly up, and shoot the 4 buttons located high up in the room. You can see me here in the gameplay struggling to make that happen in less than 45 seconds. I guess I just couldn't make out the tiny buttons located so far off in the distance. And shooting those peanut guns while flying isn't the easiest thing in the world either. I was so close to beating it the first time, but eventually I had the light bulb moment. The second challenge is pretty fun and straightforward. Take out the Kremlin that inactivated the switch, and with 30 seconds on the clock, you could pretty much just knock them all out and go for the switch, instead of trying to investigate which Kremlin specifically did it. I just love how they're all trying to avoid you for once. It's a silly challenge. So with the Blastomatic successfully deactivated, we can enter a new hallway that takes us to a room we're awfully familiar with. The intro-story cutscene with the claptraps powering the fortress. This is an aspect of the game that goes a long way to me. I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but seeing this cutscene at the beginning of the game and not knowing you'd ever be there in person near the end of the game, it's a cool moment. And that feeling continues when going through the next doorway, entering K. Rool's lair. Due to the previous cutscene, we're already aware of his cowardly departure, but finally being in his room to stand on his throne, to witness the room where all these cutscenes took place, is a fantastic way to tie it all together. So now it's time to collect that final boss key and… no! Those 2 coins. I'd argue this is one of the biggest slap to the face from the game. The rare coin isn't all that challenging to collect, but the Nintendo coin. Check out this other video on the coins. I vaguely remember my first playthrough and hitting a dead end when it was time to collect boss key number 8. There was a bit of cursing on the way back to the arcade game, but for this current playthrough, I decided I had more than enough. I've done my homework. I've done my time. I've collected these before. Give me glitches. It's time to wrap up this game. Check out this other video on glitches. But to finally free K. Lumsy is like that itch we've been needing to scratch for hours and hours. Each time we deposit a key, he gets a little dose of happiness. And I remember kid me trying to find other ways to free him. He would just try to slip through the cage with them because watching him weep and cry out was heartbreaking. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. No, but watching a new friend jump for joy and immediately block K. Rool's escape will always be a treat to me. And now it's time to throw down and put an end to the King of Kremlings. That's probably everything there is to say about Hideout Helm. It's not at all like the other worlds, but I appreciate how well it wraps up the end of the game. The music here is some of the best in the game too. There's a real sense of urgency, like being on some important mission in the ultimate bad guy territory. It kind of reminds me of the Forsaken Fortress in The Wind Waker, but more so the second time when Link has a sword and is ready for payback. But that's enough for me. What are your thoughts on Hideout Helm? Did it play up to your expectations? Did the clock stress you out? Is there anything you would change about this world? Let me know in the comments below. Take care.